Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Portal Revolution. So, we are in Chapter 5. The personality core was activated a teleporter. Although I don't know if really you should even take it much as a betrayal per se. Like it it seems like the personality core didn't even really try to hurt you by teleporting you. It just was a case that the teleporter went crazy and we are now at the bottom of the facility. So we made it all the way to the top, from the top to the bottom, which I could see thematically where that is the case. But our portal gun is broken, we can't pick it up, so we're either going to get another portal gun or we're going to spend an entire chapter doing puzzles that are completely disconnected from the portal gun, which, you know, at a certain level, maybe that would work. In being teleported around, we were teleported to several sections. In one of the sections, we saw a part of the Portal 2 game in which there was an Aperture Science sign, and in the events of Portal 2, the Aperture Science sign gets knocked down. So we know that in the timeline we are before that, but it was pretty obvious that in the timeline we are before the events of Portal 2. In fact, pretty much at the beginning of the game, they said that it seemed like we had only been in stasis for like 72 days, which there's far too much damage for that to be accurate, however. I don't like that the game says game saved in the top left as often as it does. So it would be interesting, I guess, if it turned out that we're going to go through the facility and just walk around. That wouldn't be much of a game, though. We know that down here are some more secret, hidden experiments that weren't just directly portal related. Here is one of the portal signs, Aperture Science signs. That looks like it's fallen, although that could just have been a floor. Seems weird to have lighting here unless I am going to shoot a portal there later. Now, even if 1/5 of the game was completely different, you kind of needed a flash forward if that was going to be the case. Or a flashback. Interesting. Water and beans and chairs looking off in the direction. And I would assume this is just salt water that you'd have to distill, since this was a former salt mine, and so I imagine unless you got really lucky you wouldn't have any kind of life in it. Maybe some brine shrimp or plankton, things like that could live in there, but probably not enough to keep a human alive. It says danger, keep out, and it looks like I can walk somewhat in the water, but I'll get poisoned fairly quickly once you get to a certain depth. We've got some orange lighting here that maybe indicates some orange gel. Then we're going to follow the gel pipes. You run into a real problem here, though, in that our main protagonist never speaks in the main Portal games, Chell, but our main protagonist in this fan mod is also not speaking, and it just doesn't make enough sense that you would have that happen, particularly right now when we don't have a personality cube speaking to us either, and even in that, this mod's personality cube doesn't have that much monologue or that much personality anyways. Yeah. Seems like the game is over checkpointing just because you're moving a fairly large distance. Whereas in most Portal puzzle rooms, you wouldn't move larger distances when they're pretty obviously should just be a cooldown timer on auto saving. We might be going up there. But there's just nothing happening here. We're just hearing creaking and groaning of decaying building structure. I don't expect there to be like a giant octopus in the middle of the facility, which that would be funny at least if that was what would happen. And I don't even expect head crab aliens to show up, which that could work too. So it just doesn't have a looming feel of danger. Honestly, even if I was just attacked by the birds, the ravens that we've been seeing in the game in some way, or harassed in some way by the ravens, I'd be kind of okay with that. But it just seems so empty and so lifeless. You need the robot's assistance, or existence at least, to not have this dangerously come close to what you might call a low effort video game. That's how I describe a lot of video games, just when I try to evaluate them very quickly, in the sense that you can pretty easily in a Portal mod have walls and empty rooms, but that's not content that people are going to care about. You could have 1,000,000 doors, and that would not be a good game by any means. You need to have puzzles and platforming of some sort, or some other element to replace the puzzles and platforming, or at the very least you need to have some story. Now, noticeably, Portal Revolution has interjected the idea of using the flip switches, and I'm pretty sure you use only like one flip switch in Portal 2 at one point. I don't think you flip any switches in Portal 1 to turn off the power, or in this case it looked like that was going to turn on the power. Although it seems to have turned on much more modern, like, pneumatic tube than what should be down here. We have a little bit of a slant here for no real reason, it seems. It's probably really, really difficult, almost certainly you're going to put a portal here, to recognize when there's too much falling action. But that's exactly what I think we're having here. It's been 8 minutes already since I've started playing and walking around here, and just nothing has happened. It seems like we'd put a portal here too, but this also might just be reusing locations we'd already seen. And the real solution here is just to go here. Wait here. So we temporarily were forced to resign as an employee. Otherwise, it feels like as an employee I might have been able to just walk out the door. So now it seems like we are, after pretending to be the janitor, now going to be forced to be a test subject once again. Here we have the cake poster. That's probably new. Let's see, control point. And back back this way. I don't think we've been here, so this probably is the right direction. It's really, really dark. And here we have our second ladder of the game, where we're crawling up the ladder way too fast. That clearly could have used some tweaking. And then we just have an elevator. So, interesting. Is this just gonna be it? Did we just take a little scenic route experience through the basement section for no reason? Or are we gonna go up to Aperture, higher levels of Aperture science, get some kind of portal gun, and then fall back down? Yeah, these screens definitely don't make any sense to be here, and these tubes don't make a lot of sense. Now you have multiple generations of technology overlapping, multiple decades of different technology. If you were going to play around with time, which the Half-Life universe is now willing to do that more, maybe you send Cave Johnson back in time and he starts Aperture Labs decades earlier, and so you have like steampunk style mechanics and mechanisms in some alternate timeline. That would be somewhat interesting. Or you could have, can't look in here and really see too much, Chell go back in time and create some other company to compete against Aperture Science, stealing the portal technology from the future. The only thing I could think, whoops, I don't think I was supposed to fall down here. The only thing I could think would be maybe, just maybe, you're supposed to, I feel like I may have gone in a full circle here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to just die. I don't think I'm supposed to be down here. Let's just hit the water and reset very quickly. That was a very quick reset. I'm not sure that's really where I started before either. I guess it was. Yeah, maybe, just maybe they're trying to set it up where the lights come on and then everything is way more brightly lit, and thus it's way more a very different perspective, a very different vision. And it seems like the fan mods and sequels here are being, arguably by this point in 2024, too respectful of the idea of the other freed humans at the end of the co-op of Portal 2. Whereas it would make more sense to take that storyline and that plot thread and do something with it, instead of setting everything in between the events of Portal 1 and Portal 2 or in their own non-canon parallel storyline, in the hopes that Valve will make another Portal game. Same is kind of true with Half-Life 3, although even some of the writers and creatives who have worked on Half-Life 3 at this point have just leaked out what the general plans were for Half-Life 3 in its early production stages. But yeah, it would make a lot of sense to make a game like Half-Life 3. Maybe you can't call it Half-Life 3 and just have it be effectively Half-Life 3. Although I also question what is special about Half-Life. As somebody who hasn't played the games, I know it's pretty much the gravity gun and the physics, and it being one of the earliest and good first-person shooters. But so much time has happened since then, you could make any generic first-person shooter and it would feel better than what Half-Life 1 or Half-Life 2 would have felt like. So here's where the power's, I guess, going to come on and the lights may light up. Again, it feels like the camera.
Welcome to the Aperture Science Enrichment Center. How was that? Okay, good. The fact you're standing here tells me that you want to help us revolutionize the world, just like we have for over 30 years. Wrong draft? This one? Lunch at 10. Wait, where are you going? Are we not finishing my part?
So we got a new voice recorder, and this is Aperture Laboratories. The second name change. The third one would be Aperture Science. Before that it was Aperture Shower Fixtures or something like that. Still not super lit up, and it definitely feels like a lot of the lighting in this game is trying to be accurate real world lighting instead of just flipping a switch and then everything getting way brighter, which is more what I would kind of prefer. Okay, so we turned on the thing. I assume we're supposed to drop down here, because I don't think there would be any other way of getting to where we're supposed to go. We may very well just be forced back into doing puzzles where we don't control the portals at all. There's no screenshot mode that's special to this game. So I wouldn't really expect it to. I can't imagine that it would make that much sense to have like a camera built in canonically into the game where you're running around and taking pictures. So we have some kind of symbol, but also I think the indication is that we're supposed to go in that direction, and maybe these tubes are supposed to point us in that direction. Interesting, this door is half open, but we can't open it. It looks like what they've done is they've indicated that the handles fell off the doors and locked it into place, which makes sense to hold maybe a door open. It doesn't make sense though that you couldn't just interact with it to get in the room. Not that there even is anything in the room. Okay, I think I get this. We're probably supposed to go through this whole presentation, but I don't know if we're really going to get any voice lines or dialogue on this. So I would just say pause now. It'd be funny if this was the distraction and we'd get attacked by something, but I don't believe that's the case. And is this really a working portal gun? That's creepy that it turned and looked at me. So I've thought this whole time we've had the logo with the red portal, and so it seems like we now have that possibility. So what does a red portal do? Does it do anything different? It kind of feels like in the co-op you may have already had a red portal. So walking out of a red portal does nothing different. Walking into a red portal does nothing different. Well, that seems hardly revolutionary, doesn't it? The only thing is maybe the red portal gun can shoot a lot further, where the gun we had before may have been designed to be limited to 8 kilometers. We can go that way. Looks like we might also manage to go that direction. What's the point? Guess the point here is that we are working our way downward, even lower. Of course, the real issue with that idea is, if that's what you're doing, your fall boots would just save you anyways, so yeah, you could have just jumped down much earlier. I guess the question is, where was the projection? Let's go upward, I guess, instead of downward. Let's see how that works. Yeah, you can't jump here. And I see nothing more up here. So, it's gotta be, I just need to shoot a red portal. And maybe there's something special about red portals as far as maintaining your momentum. It doesn't seem like that's the case. There's no secret door here, but there is a ladder which we can climb up really high, and that did get me out of that section. It does seem like we are now just revisiting the sections we were in before. So we want to project ourselves. There's no charge up on portal guns. That would be different, certainly. Okay, so I think I want to fling myself back that way. That would be my guess. Now that the power's back on. How can I fling myself back that way? How far can we go with this? I could jump down here. But I don't think I can jump down lower. I mean, there's no risk. I guess we'll jump down here and we'll look. Is there a point where we can jump down lower? Doesn't seem like it. Seems like once you get to this section, that's no longer part of the puzzle. Which arguably that's a great excuse to it's a great excuse to just have a door lock on you or have some collapse, some kind of scripted collapse. And I imagine anytime in the official games, Portal 1, Portal 2, if there was a scripted collapse to block your way, I probably took extra bits of programming that a mod maker might struggle a little bit more with. If you had a portal gun that could suck up and shoot acceleration gel or bounce gel, that would be interesting as a new system. And that is where it felt like it was going to go with the game, the Portal 2, is that eventually, even if it was just for the boss fight, you would have that ability. I just don't see a special property here. This, I think, would kill me. Yeah, I think just going here is gonna... Well, didn't kill me. We do have ground here, where I thought this was gonna be liquid. So maybe there is just a little bit of hide and go seek going on. It's so incredibly dark though. I just want to turn the brightness up and try and cheat the game more from that angle. It would be helpful since the Y button never did do anything. Maybe pressing Y points to like objects if there are objects, but in this case there's been very few cubes and objects to interact with. Can't jump over here. Hi. So my suspicion is maybe you need to use this to just gain and maintain momentum in a fall. Maybe you don't. Then we need to find another way to jump downward. Which... Can we do that? Kind of looks like there might be something over here, but I can't reach that. Okay. So what I can do, I guess, is put one portal over there, and I guess this is the solution. And this may just highlight how the puzzles are gonna be kind of crazy. I can't jump into this here, which would be the easy solution. So I need to put the red portal here. And then what I need to do is jump through this and then fall and put the blue portal downward. I can't jump through this one. And so then there would only be one way. I need the portal, the blue portal, to be on the other side. Okay. This is where the running around, having the ability to run would be somewhat helpful. We need maybe to come down here so that we can get the angle just right. Put the blue portal there. And can we zoom in and see if there's a jump portal here? I think it's there. I think that's the right, that's the only one it will work on. Okay. Nope. Must have been the next one. No, it's that one. The one that clearly has nothing. Okay. Attempt number 3. That's what it should have been. And maybe just a subtle spray painted X in orange paint would have helped there. We kind of only get one chance at this. Okay, so now we are bouncing up and down. So the move is when we are bounced up here to shoot a blue portal there, and that flings us over that way. Yeah, so far the most revolutionary thing we've seen in this game, Portal Revolution, which maybe they just picked a random name, is the idea of... This door's not gonna open. The idea of breaking all of the conceits and the optimizations that Valve made, having you wander around in darker, more confusing areas and having to spend a little bit more mental energy to find the surfaces you're supposed to use, which inherently is just going to create a situation where fewer and fewer players actually make it to the credits. Interesting. I would have sworn you were going to put a portal on that surface. And we're going full circle, doing a recursive thing once again. Except for this time, with the portal gun, we can move things around. And this switch only opens one door at a time, toggling. So we had to use the portal here. So I guess we're gonna get to see what the fan mod thought was behind these doors, which may be just more testing facilities. Like, there's always just been the assumption that eventually you would hit a ladder or an elevator and you would get to the surface, and the surface would just be a normal human world like environment, something far less strange than what we see inside of Aperture laboratories. Next test chamber. For test chamber, testing track lambda. I assume that's the right direction because we were already over there. Once again, just far too much falling action, though. Not enough is going on. I would say some kind of monster sound effects would be appreciated to just hint that eventually we would fight a monster, even if we were just going to have an animation at the end of a giant crab or octopus attacking you as you escape. And honestly, a giant octopus attacking you, a monster mutation, would be great for a Portal game, because you could be grabbed by one arm and then have to be stuck in one position where you make boxes and cubes fall on the octopus, or you could be let go in a attack cycle and dropped and as you fall downward, you could use that momentum to fling yourself
We're
somewhere.
rolling? Okay. Alright. We're trying something different with this test. If you've worked in device development, then you'll know what this is already. But if you don't, that will actually give us better data, so just have fun with it. It shouldn't be able to hurt you.
Are they just literally testing the switch? Test 61 or test 01? Ah, so here you have a whiteboard with test 01 and the little icons. Interesting. So we have like the very beginnings of a test chamber. And a very empty office, and it seems like the move would be to possibly just let that go and get sucked up, and then it would go down there. Why did I need to do that? Because if I had walked through this door, which this is weird that the door doesn't seem to have any electronics maintaining it, but had I walked through the door, that it would have destroyed the cube. Well, if I was holding the cube when walking through the door. Then it does kind of feel like you could break the walls even more on this walled off section, but not really. It's just an invisible wall section. Of course, we can't have too many puzzles like that. That would be completely ridiculous to just reset everything and give us super easy puzzles. And if I continued to see super easy puzzles, I would suspect what actually happened is that Chapter 5 of this mod was at some point supposed to be its own separate game, and thus the different voice actor in a different location instead of just being a chapter. I don't think that there's a real large amount of reasoning behind mod makers of making games to merge their mods together, other than perhaps they bit off way more than they could chew and opted to release a final product, a finished product, by merging multiple projects, which that's very believable.
To remind everybody who didn't read the introductory guidebook about pneumatic diversity vents, all pneumatic diversity vents in test chambers have been calibrated to a maximum capacity of 60 kilograms to prevent most humans from being sucked up and disposed of. If your body mass happens to be under 60 kilograms, extra caution is advised.
Well, how much do we weigh, I guess, is the question.
Please put me down.
So, it does seem like the game is going to do us a favor here and not make us go crazy. Maybe I could portal fling myself up that, but I don't know why I'd want to. Instead, we're doing something that is a little bit different, in that we're using the sucking force of the tube to solve puzzles, which that's an interesting twist. And it straight up got both of them in one portal. But yeah, I don't know how long we could use that as a gameplay mechanic, and fortunately it does feel like this mod really is doing the gimmicks once and only once. I'd also say these puzzles are more creative than some of the ones we saw before. But I am also, I would have to admit, a little disappointed in the fact that we lost our personality cube character. I would have liked for him to have tried to grow on me. Okay. I'll just go ahead and put a red portal here. It is very silly that the portals by default are orange and blue.
The following test chambers may not include pre-recorded messages like these in order to measure how test subjects behave in environments lacking human contact. Good luck!
Having recently played the much smaller Ambition game Rethink, having a red portal, a blue portal, and a green portal would make a lot of sense, particularly if all of a sudden you had lasers that could only go through blue portals if they're blue, or red portals if they're red, or green portals if they're green. Of course, then that might create a situation where you're creating a lot of different portals of a lot of different colors, and that might require much more powerful CPUs and GPUs. Interesting, this looks like this has been barricaded, intentionally sealed. I'm still getting a feeling that there are, or at least at one time, there were humans living down here, and maybe that is the real twist of this game, is that we are being used to hunt down some escaped human test subjects. It seems to me like I could still use that portal. Do we need that portal? Well, when I walked away from it, it disappeared. It's not placed anymore. And yeah, we've been going long enough, so let's end this episode here. The cutting room floor is the name of this, which that's a reference to cutting film the old-fashioned way when film editing wasn't done digitally, which would imply that the content we're going through is content that could have been left out in an edit, but I really wouldn't say that the puzzles we've done in this episode feel worse in any way, or that, if anything, I feel like the puzzles we've done in this final chapter feel more creative than a lot of the other ones. It still feels like there should probably have been a flash forward or something that would have mixed the puzzles together. Perhaps you just introduced the teleportation concept at the very beginning, and then instead of getting in elevators, you were just automatically teleported in between puzzles. So sometimes you would be very high and see the sun, and sometimes you'd be all the way at the bottom of the building, and sometimes you might be in the middle, sometimes you might be in a nicer facility, sometimes you might be in a more damaged part of the facility. You could have a lot of variety there without segregating it into just traditional chapters. Then the chapters could be more a storyline chapter divider. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.